All right, so welcome to the deep dive, everybody. Today we're going to get philosophical, like way philosophical. Imagine like this ancient wisdom lounge.
Okay.
And we've got Socrates, Joe Rogan, Kanye,
Oh, wow.
and Nietzsche's all just hanging out.
Big personalities.
Yeah, debating the big questions of life. You know, what's it all about? What are we doing here?
Right.
And they're using these texts
Oh, cool.
from like super old school philosophers.
Okay.
Lucretius,
Yeah.
Epictetus,
Yeah.
and Marcus Aurelius. So it's like ancient wisdom
Yeah.
meets modern personalities.
I like it.
And they're going to duke it out, using philosophy as their weapons.
It's a clash of the titans. So are we just atoms in the void, like Lucretius says?
Right, exactly.
Or should we be trying to, like, master ourselves?
Yeah.
Like the Stoics, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius.
That's the question.
Yeah.
And it's a big one, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with Lucretius.
Okay.
This guy was radical.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously. He said the universe, everything, it's all just atoms and void.
Like, that's it?
That's it. He even wrote, all nature, then, as it exists by itself, is founded on two things. There are bodies, and there is void.
Even today, that's, like, a pretty wild thought.
Totally. But think about when he was writing this. Ancient Rome, gods, fate, destiny, everyone was afraid of these forces controlling their lives.
Right, right.
And Lucretius comes along and says, nope, it's just atoms. Tiny particles, always moving, bumping into each other, creating everything.
I mean, I can see why people freaked out a little.
Oh, for sure. It challenged everything they thought they knew. And he had this amazing way of explaining it, too. Like, imagine dust motes dancing in a sunbeam.
Okay, I can picture that.
That's how he described these unseen atoms, constantly in motion.
It's a pretty powerful image.
Yeah, it is. But it leaves you with some big questions, right? Like, if it's just atoms bumping around,
Yeah.
then where's the meaning? What about purpose? Free will? Is that even real?
It makes you think. Like, what would someone like, say, Kanye West?
Kanye.
Yeah, think about it. He's all about self-creation, building himself up from nothing.
yeah.
Maybe he'd see something in Lucretius's ideas. Atoms combining, making new things.
True. But Kanye, he believes in controlling his destiny, you know, shaping it.
Yeah.
And Lucretius, he's all about the randomness of it all.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you've got this tension there.
Exactly. And that tension, it takes us right to round two. Epictetus and the Stoics.
Okay, bring on the Stoics.
So for Epictetus, happiness, it's not about stuff or achievements. It's about mastering your mind.
So inner peace over everything else.
Right. You focus on what you can control, your thoughts and actions.
Easier said than done, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But he has this great analogy. He compares the human body to clay finely tempered,
Okay.
a gift from the gods. We didn't choose our bodies or circumstances, but we can choose how we use them.
So, like, play the hand you're dealt.
Exactly. You might not control what happens, but you control how you react, how you see it. That's where freedom is.
Interesting.
In Epictetus, he's very clear about this. He says, keep by every means what is your own. Do not desire what belongs to others.
Yeah.
Fidelity is your own. Virtue is your own.
Powerful words.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because a lot of what he's saying, it really echoes modern ideas like self-improvement,
Oh, yeah, that's huge right now.
taking responsibility for your well-being. Can't you just picture Joe Rogan in our wisdom lounge?
Totally.
Nodding along, loving this Stoic stuff.
Yeah, Rogan's all about discipline,
Right.
mental toughness, facing your challenges head on. That's pretty stoic.
Totally. Owning your life instead of being a victim. So I got to ask you, what resonates with you more? Lucretius's random universe of atoms or the Stoic idea of self-mastery for freedom?
That's a tough one.
Right. Think about it as we head into round three, where we bring in another Stoic heavyweight, Marcus Aurelius.
All right, let's hear it. So with Marcus Aurelius, we get a different kind of stoic vibe, right? He was an emperor, like running the whole Roman Empire.
How philosopher king, how cool is that?
And seriously. And his book, Meditations, it wasn't meant to be like this big philosophy textbook or anything. It's more like personal notes,
Okay.
reflections on how to live a good life, even when you're dealing with crazy pressure.
Like ruling an empire.
Exactly. It's kind of like peeking into his diary, seeing his struggles, his thoughts.
A very personal side to this powerful emperor.
Right. And what's amazing is how much he focuses on finding meaning, you know, purpose. Even with all that power.
Yeah, power doesn't necessarily equal happiness.
No, not at all. And he's really into accepting things like death. It's a natural part of life, he says. Finding beauty in the impermanence of things and using reason to guide your actions.
There's this real sense of peace in his writing,
Yeah.
acceptance, finding calm within yourself.
And like Epictetus, he really emphasizes how connected everything is. He even says, constantly regard the universe as one living being, having one substance and one soul, and observe how all things have reference to one perception, the perception of this one living being, and how all things act with one movement, and how all things are the cooperating causes of all things which exist.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Right. Everything's connected, like a web. Every action has an effect.
So it's not just about you. Your choices impact everyone, everything.
It's a big responsibility. It makes you think, like, how would someone like Kanye...
Let's just self-made himself.
Yeah, exactly. How would he handle this idea?
Right, he's all about individual ambition, standing out, being exceptional.
Would he see his creativity as part of this bigger web? Adding to it,
Maybe. Or would he think this whole interconnectedness thing is like holding him back, too limiting for his ego?
That's a good question. It's like individual expression versus the good of the whole.
Right. And speaking of big egos, can you imagine Nietzsche listening to all this talk about acceptance and tranquility?
Oh, man, he'd be fuming.
He'd be like, that's giving up, that's weak.
Totally. Nietzsche's all about pushing boundaries, challenging everything, even morality itself. He'd say real strength is in forging your own path, even when everything's chaos.
So we've got Lucretius with his random atoms, then the Stoics saying master yourself, accept what is. And then Nietzsche telling us to embrace power, create our own values, because there's no God anyway.
It's like a philosophical buffet, right? You take what you like.
Exactly. What
Yeah.
speaks to you, what nourishes your soul.
That's the cool thing about philosophy. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about thinking, questioning, figuring out what works for you.
But before you run off to ponder all that,
Yeah.
we got to bring in our final guest, the OG philosophical troublemaker, Socrates.
Oh, man, Socrates. Now things are about to get interesting.
This guy wouldn't let anyone off easy.
Oh,
Lucretius, the Stoics, Kanye, even Nietzsche. He'd be asking questions, poking holes in their arguments, making them really think.
I can just see him grilling Lucretius about atoms and void.
If it's all random, how come there's order and beauty in the world?
Is there something else going on? Some intelligence beyond these atoms?
Exactly. And he pushed back against the Stoics, too. Shouldn't we fight for what's right? Challenge injustice.
Sometimes virtue means resisting, rebelling against the way things are. He'd make them really defend their ideas about acceptance.
And Nietzsche might say, oh man, that would be a clash of the titans.
Power. What kind of power? Is it just for you or for something bigger?
Maybe real power is about serving others, using your strength for good. Could you imagine?
It would be epic. Ancient wisdom versus modern thinking,
Yeah,
with Socrates stirring the pot, making everyone question everything.
that's Socrates for you.
And Socrates wouldn't go easy on our modern folks either.
Oh, definitely not.
Imagine him turning to Joe Rogan, all about that discipline, self-improvement, and asking, what's it all for? This self-mastery, I mean. Is it just about you, or is there something bigger you're aiming for? Some greater good?
I bet Rogan would, pause for a second. Really think about that one.
Trying to put it into words. What's driving him deep down?
Yeah, beyond just, pushing yourself and being your best.
Exactly. And then there's Kanye, right, larger than life.
Oh, yeah.
So sure of himself.
Unstoppable.
Socrates might say, all gentle. Kanye, talk about resilience, creating yourself. Where does that confidence come from? Do you really know yourself, know the world, or is it like a cover for something deeper? Maybe some insecurity.
Oh, man.
That would hit a nerve.
Total mic drop moment.
Right. But Kanye, he wouldn't back down. I bet he'd launch into this whole defense of his art, his vision.
Yeah, Kanye's not afraid to speak his mind.
Not at all. But that's what Socrates was all about, getting people to really examine their beliefs.
Yeah, challenge those assumptions.
Explain yourself, defend your ideas.
It's not about winning. It's about, the process of figuring it all out.
Exactly, an intellectual workout, So after all that philosophical sparring, where does it leave us? We've got Lucretius saying it's all just atoms, no meaning, no purpose.
Right, kind of bleak.
Then the Stoics saying master yourself, accept what is, find your freedom that way.
Inner peace, serenity.
And Nietzsche telling us there's no God, so create your own values, embrace that will to power.
So many different paths.
And through it all, Socrates is there, asking the tough questions, poking and prodding, reminding us to never stop thinking.
The unexamined life not worth living, right?
He had a point. It's been quite a ride.
Yeah, from ancient Rome to, us today.
Atoms to ego. It's a lot to take in.
So the big question is, what do you believe?
Out of all these ideas, what resonates with you? Where do you find meaning? How do you balance what you want with what's right? Responsibility to others and all that.
These are questions that have been around forever,
They're not easy to answer.
but just thinking about them, exploring the different possibilities.
That's where the real value is.
So keep those philosophical fires burning, everyone.
Keep questioning, keep searching.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into ancient wisdom and modern minds.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep thinking deeply and keep those conversations going.